Hey guys, 3Piece here, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to go ahead and watch a clip from a Joe Rogan podcast. Love the guy. Dr. Debunk debunks claims of a gender spectrum. This is going to be good. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I've been getting sick, completely sick, over the past couple of years of hearing about how gender and sex are different things, and this gender has the spectrum, or in some cases sex has the spectrum. They all spectrums everywhere. I'm getting tired of spectrums, okay? I think we can all agree we're tired of spectrums. So when I saw this title on my YouTube homepage, I just couldn't resist watching it. It's good. I'll go ahead and share it with you guys, cut it down to the good stuff, and then just share my thoughts on it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Within sex research in particular, I feel like sex research was the canary in the coal mine, because we saw this coming decades ago in that one professor, Michael Bailey at Northwestern University, there's been a long history that's ugly between sex researchers and transgender activists. And Michael Bailey wrote a book, I think it was 2003, that really enraged some activists. And I have to say, trans activists don't speak for all transgender people. I have many trans people who've reached out to me over the years telling me that they actually agree with me.
That is one point I've noticed. Like, whenever we see people, and this is on all sides of any political discussion, whenever we see people who are speaking for any given group of people, whether it be for transgenderism, whether it be Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter, all of this stuff, none of them are actually qualified. They're not like elected into this position. They don't accurately represent anything at all. They're just the opinions of one person that a lot of people like them agree with, but we don't know how much. We don't know if these groups want them to speak for them. If we want to have these sorts of conversations, they need to be with elected people, let's say, or at least people who have more support, not some random reporter or some random person on the internet.
But I feel activists tend to be the most vocal, they tend to be the most aggressive. And so after researchers saw what happened to Mike, in the book I talk about the things that they did to him. Some of them were very unethical, and they really tried to ruin him professionally and his personal reputation as well. And so after that, people said, well, I'm not touching the subject because it's just not worth it.
It really is sad that something as ridiculous as cancel culture and this sort of reputation demolition from the left, it's so sad that it's so stupid, and yet it actually works. And it works so consistently that it's taken over every aspect of our society today. It's sad, it's gross, it's disturbing, and it really is just a shame. And I wish more people would have more integrity. And I say that, but I mean, when it comes down to it, when your entire life is being attacked, sometimes you have to bend the knee. And I hope I never do that if I'm ever in that position. We'll find out. I hope I don't. Keep me accountable.
I think also with more broadly with this ideology, that students are being taught this and they graduate, they go out into the real world, they get jobs. And a lot of people, even 5 years ago, I would say, dismissed a lot of this ideology, especially around gender. They would say, that's only in academia. That is not something that's actually going to affect me in my real life. But here it is now. It affects everybody. There's no way that this is not affecting you. I think it's just a question of how much do you pay attention to it.
These people are leaving universities and are going into the real world, and we all thought that they're going to get to the real world and they'll realize this is just not true. It's all made up. It's all ridiculous. Time for you to grow up. And I was thinking the other day, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he mentioned exactly that, and I said, well, now wait a minute. I would agree with that, except that as these generations are filling up the workforce and making up what is the real world, we have millennials running a lot of the world right now, right? If you go into the workforce, every boss I've ever had has been a millennial, and so we say that, you're going to get to the real world, and you're going to have, you wake up with anxiety in the morning and say, I can't come into work, and it's the real world. No one cares. Show up to work. I would say that's true, except that maybe millennials do care, and they do. I know because my bosses have in the past, which I find ridiculous. For the record, I've never made that excuse, but I've seen some coworkers of mine make that excuse and get the day off as a result. So I worry that, as my generation, as Gen Z is moving into the real world, into the workforce, that we'll be moving into a world that's been constructed by woke millennials. And so the real world won't be real anymore. And then we're going to get halfway through life and realize, maybe hopefully realize, that everything's gone to shit.
Well, I think this is one of the reasons why you're so important, because you're obviously a very intelligent, kind person, and you're not a hateful person, and you're not in any way discriminating. You're looking at this as a scientist, and you're looking at this as a person who is very frustrated by the fact that you can't discuss science, particularly when it comes to really critical aspects of people's lives, which is sex and gender.
You mentioned how it's important that she's, kind and respectful, and she's not... basically, she's not the sort of person that you would just instantly go after if you were a reasonable person. The problem is that the left doesn't consist of reasonable people. The far left does not consist of reasonable people, and so they'll go after her no matter what. Which is just a shame, because she does seem like a really nice person who does seem to really care. She's just looking at the facts. It just doesn't matter anymore. You have to say what the mob wants you to say, or the mob turns on you. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter how you behave, it's over.
I would love to talk to you about what you just had, though. When you said that there's not a spectrum when it comes to gender, that's a common narrative. So what do you mean by that? Like, there's not a spectrum?
So there are two genders. And so gender, for 99% of us, our biological sex is our gender. Biological sex is determined by gametes, which are either eggs or sperm. So there are no intermediate gametes. So gender is either male or female. So this I do not think invalidates the existence of intersex people or transgender people. I think we can advocate for equal rights for those communities. We don't have to reconceptualize what gender or sex are. I mean, this is what's being published in scientific papers now. They refer to gender as quite literally a galaxy. So, I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's pretty crazy. Not just a spectrum, but a galaxy. When you say there's just two genders, first of all, that's going to enrage people, right? Mm-hmm. But second of all, will you concede that there are very feminine men and very masculine women? And if that is true, what accounts for that?
It goes back to the prenatal environment. So I definitely don't deny that they're gender atypical people. I, as a woman, I look very feminine, but I'm actually very gender atypical. I've always felt more masculine, and even to this day, I feel much more masculine than feminine.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on a second. You feel masculine?
Uh-huh.
Really? That's crazy. You don't.
Yeah, you would never know.
Oh my God, you don't even seem remotely masculine. Like,
can we just point out how amazing Joe Rogan is? That he's just willing to say that. Find any other person, or at least find many other people. Find some who are willing to someone's face just say, "Really? No, you don't seem like that." I mean, and I'm talking about like with reference to sex and gender. It's like, no, you're wrong, or not, no, you're wrong, but like, no, I don't see that. I mean, if you challenge that with anyone these days, you're screwed. Your entire life is just ended. Your job is gone. If I were to say that to one of my coworkers, I'd be fired instantly. It's like, man, I love Rogan. I love him so much. Also, why is this phone call on Skype?
Gender is one of those things in terms of how we describe it is so personal, and that's why I feel it's so important to focus on the evidence, because without that, what do you really have? So what it comes down to is a testosterone exposure in the womb.
So this spectrum that does exist, even though there are two genders in your opinion, a male gender and a female gender.
Well, it's not in my opinion. Okay. It's not in my opinion. It is.
Okay. But scientifically, right? There's two genders. But this is obviously a hot button subject, right? If saying there's two genders will get you canceled.
Oh, I know.
And she says it anyway. Dr. Deborah, so good for you. Just damn good for you. So the reason I love Rogan so much, aside from him being something of a libertarian and being huge and awesome, he's one of the disgruntled liberals these days, and there are so many of them now. And I have so much respect for them. I've mentioned before, when I was younger, I was very, very liberal. So I moved very, well, not very far, but I moved to the right end of the spectrum. Now I'm saying spectrum. Damn. The more moderate I got from the left moving right, the more I appreciated how Rogan can have all of these conversations with so many people that say sometimes completely different things, and he doesn't have to agree with either of them, but he can be completely respectful and have a great conversation. It's so refreshing to see these days. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Sorry for the little gap in production. Should be ramping up again. We'll see. Might be a little slow still, but getting back on it. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.